So Nintendo just dropped their big annual end of the fiscal year financial report early this morning, and suffice to say, they're kicking ass. As usual, I want to peruse through it and discuss some of the highlights. If you're unaware, their fiscal years always end at the end of March, so all these numbers account for everything sold through March 31st. The Switch itself has sold 34.7 million systems, meaning I thought this was interesting. It has officially outsold the lifetime sales of the Nintendo 64, which sold just under 33 million. Not yet in terms of software, the N64 sold almost 225 million games, where the Switch is currently sitting at 187.5 million, but they're surely on their way to knocking down the N64 in all categories. And again, we're talking about the lifetime sales of the N64 versus the Switch in basically its first 2 years. And we're not done there. In Japan, the Switch just crossed the 8 million units sold mark, and the PS4 has sold around 8,033,000 in its lifetime in Japan. And yes, that includes the entire PS4 family, the base, Pro, and Slim. So very soon, the Switch will, and pay attention here, the Switch will overtake the PS4. The PS4, the biggest, most popular system in the world, will soon be overtaken by the Switch in terms of hardware sales in Japan. At this rate, with the numbers so close, it's inevitable. Those Japanese, they sure love their handhelds, don't they? Moving on to the updated list of the top 10 best-selling games, we have Mario Kart 8 still killing it with almost 16.7 million units sold. Mario Odyssey still managing to stay at number 2 with 14.4 million. But Smash Bros. Ultimate, wouldn't you know it, smashed its way right onto the list with about 3.5 months since its release, putting down 13.8 million units sold. Surely it will surpass Mario Odyssey at some point. The Legend of Zelda is holding on to the number 4 spot with 12.7 million. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, another shocker. You're telling me the Pokemon games sold well? I don't believe you. A solid 10.6 million for those two combined. Can't wait to see the numbers for Sword and Shield, it's going to be crazy. Splatoon 2 has the 6th place spot with 8.7 million units sold. Super Mario Party, probably the one that impressed me the most here. 6.4 million since October, putting it as the 7th best Nintendo game on the Switch. New Super Mario Bros. U sold 3.3 million units, which, it's great. That's just great. Really happy to see a $60 Wii U launch game performing so well. That can probably mean that we're going to see similar releases like that. Awesome. And to close it out, 1-2 Switch has reached 3 million units, and Mario Tennis Aces, the little engine that could, holding on to the number 10 spot with 2.6 million. Looking at all their titles that have done over 1 million this past year, nice to see a lot of these games doing well. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, putting in work, did over 2 million. Octopath Traveler, new IP, kind of throwbacky, almost indie feeling, hit 1 million. Kirby and Captain Toad did over 1 million. Yoshi's Crafted World was on there with over 1 million as well, which I thought was kind of weird because the game came out March 29th, I think, and this report ends on March 31st. So did Yoshi sell like 1 million units in 2 days? Because if so, that's pretty crazy. But yeah, most of their numbers all show solid growth, lots of ups from last year. For their outlook for this next financial year, they had this to say specifically about the Switch. Nintendo Switch has continued to spread quickly around the world since launch, providing a foundation for further business growth. In order to maintain this momentum, we will release Nintendo Labo Toy-Con 4 VR Kit in April, Super Mario Maker 2 in June, and Fire Emblem Three Houses in July, all worldwide. In addition, Pokemon Sword and Shield, Animal Crossing, temporary title, and Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening are slated for release in 2019. Furthermore, major titles from other software publishers are scheduled to be released. We aim to contribute to momentum of this platform by continuously introducing attractive new titles in addition to popular titles already released. I'd say all the titles they listed here for, this coming year are gonna sell pretty well, some of them insanely well. Maybe not as much like Three Houses or Labo VR, but yeah, Mario Maker 2, Pokemon for sure, Animal Crossing, even Link's Awakening to some extent, I think are all going to be killers and move a lot of both hardware and software. Hopefully to push Link's Awakening, we'll get a bundle that has, a Zelda-themed Switch. I think that will move extremely well. There sadly wasn't much to learn from the forecast and projection sections though. For game releases, it was pretty much everything we've known about, and the release dates also pretty much the same. Games like Luigi's Mansion 3, Pokemon, Link's Awakening, Animal Crossing, etc. still with no firm release date. Metroid Prime 4, of course, also TBA. I wasn't expecting much here, but maybe like some time frames like fall or winter for these. But yeah, nothing really new. In their sales forecast, there also weren't any major revelations. The 3DS is going to continue to decline as it gets sent off to go live on a farm with other handheld systems. And they predict a steady increase for Switch sales. They have a prediction here of 18 million consoles sold for this year, up from 17 million this past year, which would put them at around, 52 million consoles sold? Pretty good work, I'd say, for a 3-year span. And I think with the games they have coming, they'll be able to hit that, possibly do a bit more. And as we saw with the Let's Go games, you just can never doubt Pokemon's selling power. Mario Maker and Animal Crossing, like I said, I think will also do some pretty big numbers. But there's nothing here that I'd say indicates like a major hardware launch or some surprise game that's going to move a ton of additional software and hardware. Which they did also tell investors that they're not announcing any new hardware at E3 this year. That was a big rumor floating around recently that at least perhaps a Switch Mini would be announced there, and in fact, I think Bloomberg said they expected it to launch in June, so like a few weeks after E3. And these numbers, these projection numbers, also don't include a China launch. However, it should be noted that Nintendo can be a bunch of liars, well, at least sneaky. Famously, back at the time of the Nintendo DS, a spokesperson came out to quash rumors of a DS Lite. There's no DS Lite in the works, at least to my knowledge, they said. 2 days later, it was announced. Now, that person may have not necessarily lied, they may have just not known about it, but it just reinforces when it comes to hardware specifically, the Big N is really good. They do this with games too, but definitely with hardware, they're really good about keeping things close to the vest. Hardware also, it does make a lot of sense to try to not announce it too early because you don't want a revision to hurt the sales of your current version. Like obviously if they came out today and said, oh, a Switch Mini is coming this holiday, a lot of people are going to hold off on buying the current one. So I'm not like trying to call Nintendo out here and say they're lying, but just stating it could be a possibility. It should also be noted that the Japanese news outlet Nikkei that reported on some of these rumors came out shortly after, it was like a few hours after Nintendo released this report, to restate their claims that a smaller Switch version is coming out this summer. So they're doubling down even after Nintendo said it's not happening, which may be kind of telling. I mean, if it was me, just going off of hearsay and reporting on these rumors, this is probably the moment I'd go quiet, not project this stuff even louder, try to make people forget that I said these things, so maybe they know something that we don't. Anyway, with that, this video's a wrap. Yeah, things are looking great for Nintendo and the Switch. Basically, at this point, they have already gained the traction and have the major momentum. Now they just have to keep it. Just from the games I think they have coming, announced already, between now and the end of the year, I don't think that's going to be a problem. Surely there's going to be a surprise or two still in there, especially with, going into next year. Obviously, this fiscal year also doesn't end until March 31st, so I'm sure we'll have a couple of surprises sprinkled in there. Let me know your thoughts on these reports in the comments. How do you think the Switch did for its year 2, and what do you think about the possible release of a hardware revision this year? Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this discussion of Nintendo's latest financial reportings. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. If you want to keep the conversation going, hit me up on Twitter, @JohnnyZakari, and join my Discord, ChiGuy and Friends, link to both in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching.